Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. This is Herman from Invest Hong Kong. We are a government department of Hong Kong government responsible for promoting Hong Kong and helping overseas companies to set up their operations in Hong Kong. Welcome to today's webinar on embracing the EdTech opportunities in Hong Kong and Asia, organized by Invest Hong Kong, Consulate General of Israel in Hong Kong, and Esperanza, supported by the EdTech Israel, Mindset, and Supercharger Adventures. We have seen significant development in EdTech companies in recent years. The outbreak of COVID-19 has probably expedited the development of the sector as a lot of the learning activities have to be moved online. Hong Kong and Asia embrace the development of education technology and have many opportunities for companies in the industry. Hence, we have organized this webinar and have invited some very knowledgeable and reputable speakers to share their experience and talk about opportunities here. Without further ado, may I invite Mr. Yoav Hemi, the Commercial Counsel and Head of Economic and Commercial Mission of the Consulate General of Israel in Hong Kong, to give us an opening remarks. Yoav, pass it to you.
Thank you very much, Herman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So good afternoon to everyone in Hong Kong, and good morning to the Israeli companies that joined us today. As Herman said, my name is Yoav Haimi, and I'm the head of the Israel Economic and Commercial Mission to Hong Kong. And it is a great pleasure to meeting you all here today. Just to explain a little bit more about our role, Israel Economic and Commercial Mission is an overseas arm of the Israeli Ministry of Economy and Industry. And the main fields of activity include promotion of trade, attracting and encouraging investments to Israel, and creating strategic cooperation with Hong Kong companies, government entities, and organizations. Today, we will focus on Israel's vibrant education sector and the opportunities in Hong Kong and Asia in general. It is well known that the emphasis and the value of education are getting stronger in the last years, and with the developing of the new technologies, and especially with COVID. And venturing into the 21st century, Israel's smart solution and innovative technologies in the field of education are leading students from all around the world into a brand new chapter of education. Israeli companies, institutions, products, technological solution, education software, school modernization, and educational tools are leading the learning experience at home and at school. Strengthening interpersonal ties and independent thinking, at the same time improving teaching techniques and school performance, and above all, inspiring generation of children to think outside of the box and take initiative with advanced and nicely designed assistant tools. Israel has gained a firm foothold in the digital EdTech revolution and paving the path to new efficiencies and better learning experience. By providing a wide range of export-oriented services, the Israeli companies, we help build successful joint ventures, strategic alliances, and trade partnership. From last year until now, we have been experiencing a new challenging reality that forced us all to move to the virtual world. And today I'm really happy to see our first EdTech event co-organized with Invest Hong Kong and Esperanza. I'm also delighted to have Mr. Dan Hakimi, Chief Solutions Officer of the Israeli company Cyber Solution, to present on the panel today. And last but not least, special thanks to our partners from Invest Hong Kong and Esperanza, Herman, Carmen, and Rachel. And thank you to my team member, Miss Ellen Lam, for all the arrangements for today's webinar. So I wish you all enjoy the event, and I look forward to creating more opportunities in the future between Israel and Hong Kong, as well as seeing more innovative Israeli EdTech technologies coming to Hong Kong in the near future. So thank you all once again.
Thank you, Yoav. The objectives of today's panel discussion is to explore how effective your EdTech solutions can be in Hong Kong and Asian markets, in particular in K-12 and workforce, as well as how you can leverage on Hong Kong's unique role and advantages to fast-track your winning solution. To take forward the discussion, we have put together a very reputable panel. So may I introduce Mr. Victor Chan, Executive Director of Hong Kong Education City, Mr. Alexandro Di Lulo, co-founder of Supercharger Adventures. Mr. Kenneth Shi, the Chief Operating Officer of Preface Coding. Mr. Dan Hakimi, the Chief Solutions Officer of Signbet Solutions. And our moderator, Ms. Rachel Chen, the co-founder of Esperanza. During the panel, should you have any questions, please raise your questions via the chat room. The panel will answer them after the panel discussion. In the interest of time, let's move on to the panel discussion. Rachel, pass it to you.
Thank you, Herman. Hello, good morning, everyone from Israel. I'm Rachel, the co-founder of Esperanza. We are a Hong Kong-based NGO founded 3 years ago by the former finance minister of the Hong Kong government. Before we start and invite the very distinguished panel, I seem to have a problem. Did you guys lose me?
No, we can hear you, Rachel.
Okay, all right. Let me have an understanding of this audience. How many of you actually know Hong Kong? You can type in the chat box, tell us who you are and what is your association, your connection with Hong Kong. And for those of you who have no idea where Hong Kong is and what actually this city is about, today we hope we give you the opportunity to learn more about what Hong Kong can offer to you in helping you to expand your business. For Esperanza, we have been working on the theme of reimagining education since our establishment. And we have been supporting innovators, not just from Hong Kong, but from around the world who are keen to expand and scale up their impacts around the world. As Herman and Yoav have mentioned at the beginning, education innovation has become an even more acute and urgent imperative because of the pandemic. And this morning, I'm pleased to moderate this panel of experts. They represent different sectors of Hong Kong, of the education innovation ecosystem. And in the next 45 minutes, they will share their work and experience for EdTech businesses interested in exploring the Asian markets. So much for the introduction. Why don't we start with an educator, Victor from Hong Kong Education City. Hong Kong Ed City is a very major player in the Hong Kong education scene. Victor, can you tell us more what actually Hong Kong Ed City does? And yes, maybe a few words about the Hong Kong education system, why it is so unique and relevant to Israeli EdTech startups. And maybe if you can share some tips, if they would like to venture into this part of the market, what are the key considerations? What are the major opportunities ahead? Thank you, Victor.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be able to join this panel today. Let me use a few minutes to introduce about SCT as well as the EdTech environment in Hong Kong. Next, please. First about SCT. SCT is a government-owned company established 20 years ago. Actually, 20 years ago, Hong Kong started our ICT in Education Strategic Plan. We have 4 such plans, so it's spanned over 20 years now. And SCT is the company established at that time, and we started to consolidate the e-learning resources online in a web portal. And so now we actually operate the largest education portal in Hong Kong. And also in Hong Kong, we have about 1,000 K-12 schools, 500 primary, 500 secondary, with total about 700,000 students. And 90% of those teachers and students have their accounts at Hong Kong EdCity so that they can use some of our services. Thank you. Next, please. Now, this is a list of our services. Most of them are platforms. We support reading, assessment, English learning, Chinese learning, special needs, and so on. My purpose today is not to go through this service. You are welcome to visit our website called edcity.hk, which have plenty of this information. Instead, I would like to go through some of the key issues about Hong Kong's education environment. Next one, please. Now, first of all, about the our education system. Now, Hong Kong provides 15 years free education for everyone. So basically, all citizens of Hong Kong can receive free education, and it's not just free. Actually, we are a highly equitable market. We have no difference in the funding for government subvented schools. So even in a very low income area, the school receive the same funding exactly as other more high pending schools. Second thing is the budget, about 110.9 billion. This is Hong Kong dollar. US dollar is about 80 billion, around I mean about 14 billion US dollar, around that magnitude. We have about less than 1 million students, I mean, including university, including kindergarten. So you can average out, you can see that the budget is actually very big for worldwide comparison. The third thing is about the network. Hong Kong has the #1 mobile subscription over the world, probably about 2-point-something mobile per citizen. And the broadband is also very good. This actually implies whatever new technology solution you have, Hong Kong is a super environment that we have the infrastructure that can support this kind of more advanced technology. And all school, all classrooms are equipped with Wi-Fi. And with the COVID-19, actually government this year announced that all students will be supported with mobile, with computers and network. So virtually every student has a device and can be connected. So if you have a solution to make, if you have an app to sell, everyone is your client because everyone has a device. And Hong Kong is bilingual. We used to be an international city. We are very open to international culture. And in terms of international education benchmark, in the latest 2018 report, Hong Kong is ranked #4 in reading, #4 in math, and #9 in science. Science, there's a long story to tell. Actually, Hong Kong is a top 5 a couple of years ago, but we have slightly lowered. So STEM and science and this area probably is something that we should put more effort into. Next one, please. And Hong Kong is a small city. You can see that within about 90 minutes by driving, you can reach any place in Hong Kong. So if you have a solution, you can imagine we can easily get a large group of schools to have a seminar to share their practice. So in terms of scalability, Hong Kong is a very good market that you can quickly expand and scale your solutions to more schools. The schools are more or less 80% funded by government. So actually the building itself, the number of classrooms, the structure of the building are also very similar. So it's not just the software solution. If you have other hardware solutions, the school structure basically are very similar for you to scale the solution to more schools. Next one, please. And we have, EdCity has helped government to pilot we call e-resource adoption program. It is a program to recruit global EdTech solutions into Hong Kong. We started this in 2016. We do a global tender to invite, I think worldwide have more than 80 companies respond to our invitation. And we selected 8 at that scheme. As you can see on the screen with BrinkPop and other solutions from several different countries, from UK, Australia, Finland, United States, Australia, and so on. About more than 200 schools participated. This is a central tendering exercise, and we have a teacher group set up to have a central evaluation. So all this effort means that we hope to help the industry to have coordinated evaluation, because EdTech is a very complex market that we cannot demand all the teachers to be able to get familiar with the solution very quickly. So this kind of effort can save a lot of, can lower the entrance barrier for many of the companies. Next one, please. International partnership is also one of our strategy. We have a partner with Finland, Sweden, UK, and some large technology companies, basically to bring in different EdTech solutions to Hong Kong. Next one, please. And we have tried several years, so I would like to summarize a few points that I think is more important. First of all, Hong Kong, we emphasize mobile learning a lot, so the solution have to be mobile ready. And we also don't have designated platform, so it has to be cross-platform, although iPad, iOS is still the dominant platform in Hong Kong. A second part is about the content. If you are a solution that provides content, it has to be of quality, of course. In the education sector, quality is everything. It has to be adaptable. Obviously, we have many school-based curriculum, and teachers like to adapt the materials. The third thing is about language, and preferably you can support both Chinese and English. And if you have video resources, it would be good to have subtitles, captions, language in both language. But if it's only in English, which is some of the solutions that we have already recruited to Hong Kong, that is also fine. But bilingual is, of course, better. The third thing, the green one, is about administration and scaling. So the successful solutions usually are very easy to administer. We can easily scale to hundreds of schools, rather than you have to visit schools one by one, which will take an indefinite time to scale up. Licensing model has to be flexible. School don't have a lot of administrator to handle the contract and so on. So it has to be very simple, very straightforward. And we also recommend to have a local partner because of the training and the relationship to build up with teachers. Next one, please. And every year we run this Learning and Teaching Expo in December. This year is scheduled in December 8 to 10. You are welcome to join either remotely or locally in Hong Kong. It's a 3-day event. Next one, next please. We in 2019, because 2020 we have to postpone it, but in 2019 we have more than 13,000 visitors. And actually, usually we have about 30% visitors from overseas, outside Hong Kong, from different countries. So it's a very good opportunity to reach a very large group of education professionals in this event. So I hope this give a quick background about the environment in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. You guys can probably see that Victor is a very important person. You all should get to know him. He has his fingers and pulses everywhere in our education system in Hong Kong. But actually, Hong Kong is not just about Hong Kong. It's a very ideal place for you to test your solutions for different markets as well. And I think Victor alluded to it in his presentation already. We have a very sizable international school community in Hong Kong. A lot of international schools, from different parts of the world, US, Canada, Korea, Japan, even one from Israel. You will be surprised to know it, maybe. So it's really an ideal place if you want to pilot, you want to test some of your solutions before you expand and invest in a big way in any particular market. And hopefully you will be able to learn more in the next 30 minutes or so on this opportunity of Hong Kong as a solution piloting, testing platform for your business. Now, I would like to invite Kenneth. Kenneth Shea, he is a COO of one of the largest and leading, I would say, coding, STEM learning centers in not just Hong Kong, as I said, they have their footprints elsewhere in this region as well. And what is special about Preface is they cover not just K-12, not just the school students, they also do adult learning. So let me now invite Kenneth to share what you guys do at Preface. What do you think are the EdTech solutions that are hot in demand in Asia now for both K-12 as well as for the workplace? Kenneth, over to you.
Thanks, Rachel. Hi, everyone. Hi, friends from Israel and Hong Kong. As Rachel mentioned, Preface is a coding academy. We're based in Hong Kong, but we have students and teachers from all over the world, including Asia. What we do is essentially to provide the best and personalized curriculum and teaching about coding to everyone from age 3 to age 70, 80. We have our student, which is age 80. So that could become potentially, a new market that we can explore. But about our company and our business model, since Victor has covered the public side of things, the private side of coding and education technology industry in Hong Kong is actually very interesting because it's still relatively scattered and yet to be well developed, especially compared with many other countries in the western side of the world. What we do in terms of personalized curriculum is that through our one-on-one teaching, we aim to provide students with the best teacher among our teacher pool, and the curriculum of students that they do every lesson will be customized and personalized, powered by our AI machine. So this is based on the students' background, their age, their job, their learning outcome, as well as what kind of project they would prefer to do. So this is one of this kind in town, and we've received numerous positive feedback on encouraging learning outcome as well as achievement that they've got after completing their coding lessons here. And as Rachel said, not only do we cover the kids market, we also aim at adults. And the adult EdTech industry is very interesting because we're seeing a lot of companies devoting resources in reskilling and retraining their employees and staff. And this is particularly being a trend after the pandemic, during and after the pandemic, when a lot of companies realized this urgent need to educate their workforce into what's the skill of the future, right? And we are in the best position to provide that with our curriculum, with what we teach, with the sort of variety of teachers on our database. What's also worth mentioning is that we are also very actively looking for solutions and partners and curriculum and projects that could be applicable to our student pool, and that could be scalable and implementable while we're doing our matching and course delivery. So in terms of courses, as I mentioned, we do one-on-one. We also provide boot camps. We also do customized learning classes or courses for corporates. We have corporate partners from the banking industry, from the legal industry, from conglomerates in Hong Kong. We also work with academic institutions, including university, primary and secondary schools, of course, as well as the international school community. So that's the range of student that we provide our service to, and we are very keen to potentially work with partners outside of Hong Kong and see what we can bring and what we can create together to provide the best learning experience to our students.
Kenneth? Kenneth?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Rachel.
Would you like to say a bit more about, the specific demand in terms of the workforce development?
Sure, more than happy to. As I said, in the past, there might be companies that are looking for particular tools or courses that they may want to upskill their workforce, right? With respect to coding, it could be, data science programs, it could be machine learning programs. But now what we're seeing is that a lot of sort of tech-based companies are also looking for such solutions. I can give you a couple of examples, right? One is for people that have no tech or coding background to learn what that is. It could be some sort of introductory course. It could be some sort of crash course. But the purpose of that is to educate these people, likely management level, C-suite executives, to understand more on the trend in the future, so they can make more informed business decisions and communicate with people that have tech background or colleagues that are technically trained, right? So these are one group of people that we are seeing having huge demand. They come to us and ask for these courses or solution. The other end of things will be the traditional, industries, right? Trading industries, logistic industries. As I said, lawyers are coming to us. You will be surprised. One of the largest clients in Hong Kong is actually the Law Society, right? This has never happened in the past. We've never imagined that lawyers would have to learn coding. Not that these people need to be reskilled to code, but at least these are what they recognize as the language of the future, or the skill set of the future. It could be applicable to how they revamp their current workflow. It could be applicable in terms of how they communicate with their clients that are potentially tech companies. And there are also, of course, conglomerates, people from digital marketing background, people from finance background, people who want to basically be digitally ready, right? So we're seeing, as I said, people virtually coming to us, with us offering different kind of courses with different mode of learning to them: online, offline, blended learning, in-person, group classes, etc.
Thank you, Kenneth. Yeah, actually, for our NGO Esperanza, we are going to launch shortly a digital reskilling and upskilling program for companies in Hong Kong. And apart from coding, we can see there is an emerging trend of different kinds of demand, cloud, AI, IoT, or even, some very basic skills like UX, IX. These are all skills that are still, quite hot in demand in Hong Kong or this part of the world. And we are also seeing a switch because of the pandemic in the mode that workplace learning takes place now. Because in the old days, you typically had a trainer coming over to your office, or you send your teams to a training office. But now, increasingly, as Kenneth mentioned, it will be kind of like a blended or even totally virtual model. And increasingly, the trend is also to move away from long courses, as in elsewhere in the world. Micro-learning courses are increasingly popular and in demand. And we're talking about not just, contents generated locally, but companies are looking around the world for really good contents. And the solution could range from, the basic training to even bigger, wider picture, more strategic use of technology in terms of staff appraisal, promotion, staff deployment, or even engagement of part-time, or what we nowadays say, free agents that do not belong to the establishment, the headcount of the office. So companies are increasingly using technology to modernize their workforce, to modernize their business model and operation. So maybe we can talk about these areas a little bit later. And in the meantime, maybe it's time for me to invite Alexandro from Supercharger Adventures to talk about what they do. Interestingly, you know, some of you may have heard about the name of Supercharger Adventures. They used to do a lot of fintech stuff. They ran a fintech accelerator, but because of the importance of EdTech, they have pivoted to run a global EdTech accelerator. And actually, as we speak, they are doing their recruitment. Maybe, Alex, let me invite you to share more about what you guys are doing now.
With great pleasure. Thank you very much, Rachel, and to everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here today with all of you. Absolutely, we actually started in fintech a few. I mean, now a bit more than a few. Actually, time is passing fast. But we were actually Asia's leading fintech accelerator. Our main value proposition was really to help fintech startups expand to Hong Kong and Asia. And over 5 years, our companies raised more than 500 million USD and closed more than 400 commercial deals. We were always very close to education, funnily enough, because myself also, I'm a PhD at University of Hong Kong. Same thing, also my co-founder, Janos Barberis. We have done a lot of online education. Even before COVID, I promise. We actually launched the leading fintech course in the world. And so when COVID happened, of course, we saw that the world was really in need. I mean, it was obvious, right? Of new EdTech, new education solutions, but also a new way really to reimagine education. And so we understood that we needed to do something very similar in a sense to what was our work in fintech. And so we launched an EdTech accelerator. Super happy we made this choice because we are now about to launch our cohort number 3. So far, we helped already 16 companies expand globally pretty much. Our model at the moment, also for obvious reasons, is online first because we cannot really ask people to travel. But Supercharger is based in London and Hong Kong. And why actually these two cities? Because as I'm sure many of you have seen and followed, for example, the investment trends and the activity in EdTech in the past few years. And while places like United States, China, mainland China, and India to a certain extent, were really booming in terms of EdTech solutions and also of money that were going to these countries, the rest of the world was way, way behind. And to a certain extent, there is really no reason why it should be like this. And if we look at, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with fintech, but in fintech, basically at the beginning of fintech, it was exactly the same way. So now what we expect basically, and what we are seeing at the moment, and I don't know if you've seen the first half of 2021 investment trends, it's actually amazing, and it's confirming that a lot more money are going into the rest of Asia and also Europe. So great time to be in this part of the world. And basically what we do is really we help companies get in touch with more investors with our investor network. We help them, of course, with their pitch, with their documents to fundraise. But then, of course, another important part of the job, and all of you know very well, is about expansion, is about how to increase sales. And therefore, we do this help both in really ensuring that the strategy is right, but also in connecting our startups to the relevant people. And so we are pretty much operating at we like to say as an extension of a startup team. So of course, if any of the attendees today is interested, please do reach out and happy to share more.
Thanks, Alexandro. We often heard about the term GBA, the Greater Bay Area. Maybe you can also say a little bit about Hong Kong and the relationship with other GBA cities, because I know Supercharger Adventures actually did research last year on this area.
Yes, we did, and I'm very happy to share more about it. As as I shared, we decided to open up our Hong Kong office also because we do believe that there is naturally a great opportunity in this area. We do believe, and of course, I mean, it was great really to hear the insights of Victor and Kenneth, and I try not to repeat what was shared already, but just to complement from my side. I do believe that Hong Kong and the area have a natural advantage when it comes to mainly three things. The first one is really that Hong Kong and the area can be really seen as a center for excellence when it comes to education. We know that the education system of Hong Kong and of the area is surely of top quality. And this means this actually is both an amazing thing, but also can be a challenge. It's an amazing thing because, of course, if you can manage to test and we said it already, but let me stress it because it's very important. Many startups look at Hong Kong and they say, it's a relatively small market. Maybe I'm not that interested. However, and I'm also speaking from an investor standpoint because we are actually raising our fund and we talk to many investors naturally. Testing your solution, even in a small market, but for example, in Asia and in a place like Hong Kong, where it's Asia, so it's another part of the world, right? And second, in a premier market, it gives you a premium that then you can use really A, to go to investors, and B, to go to new countries and say, by the way, I'm already working in Hong Kong, it's working. And so you really show proof, let me call it social proof in sense. The second part is that we discussed it's a gateway to the world. And this is also linked to the previous point. Hong Kong and the GBA, of course, Hong Kong is naturally very linked to China. And when it comes to education, we have seen it that it's actually much easier versus other tech industries, which is a very important thing. And it's also naturally close both geographically, which, okay, today is not super key because of course we cannot travel, but when we could, this is an important thing. But also culturally and business-wise, many players in Hong Kong, many government or quasi-government players have great relationships with other governments or other entities in Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and other places. So if you come to Hong Kong, make sure to network with the right people and really build your bridges in a sense. And then it's also a very easy place to set up a business. Maybe you will come and you will really build your operations out of Asia, out of Hong Kong. Maybe you will come and you will see that you can make it. It's either way, it's fine in a sense. But Hong Kong will let you test it and understand very quickly. And for the entrepreneurs, for the people in a startup world in the audience, you know how time is of essence. So either it's a yes or it's a no, but at least it's quick, it's easy, it's not painful. You won't be spending months and months and months in getting, I don't know, a license or something, or setting up even an office. So that is also very important. I think I'll stop here just as an overview, but of course, very happy to share more and discuss more in the Q&A.
Thank you, Alexandro. Let me just have a pause here and remind the audience, if you have any questions for our panelists, you can type in the chat box and I'll pick your questions up during the Q&A, or you can do so later during the Q&A session. Before I invite the next panelist, Dan from Cyber Solutions, actually, I would like to share some great news with this audience. If Invest Hong Kong colleague can share my screen. I would like to introduce an upcoming Esperanza program that some of you may be interested in. Actually, our next speaker from Cyber Solutions, Cyber was a participant of this program last year. And I must say this is a very privileged group this morning, as it is the first time we make the news public that we're going to launch this Adventures GBA Fellowship Program this year. As you can see from the slides, the next one, this program actually seeks to identify and support growth stage EdTech startups with an ambition to expand beyond their home market in one of these 5 areas you can see from the screen. If you have solutions to develop 21st century skills, solutions that can motivate, inspire, and empower learning, personalized, customized learning, make learning more affordable, accessible to a wider audience pool. And last but not the least, which is a theme of this year, is what I mentioned, the reskilling and upskilling of the workforce. Next slide. I talk about growth stage EdTech startup. This is what we meant by growth stage. Don't be alarmed by the criteria. It's not all of the 4, but either or. So take a look if you are interested and if you meet these criteria. Next slide. We will be inviting nominations from VCs, from accelerators and other major EdTech organizations, from consulate office, from Invest Hong Kong office in Israel. And we will form an expert panel in Hong Kong to screen the solutions that are most relevant to Hong Kong and have a strategic fit with the Greater Bay Area. And around 18 ventures will be selected to present at an Adventure GBA Summit tentatively on the 4th of November. And you'll be able to meet virtually potential investors, market entry advisors, localization partners, as well as your potential clients. And next one. We are planning to launch it in early August. So if you are interested to learn more, email us, WhatsApp us, and join our LinkedIn page on the slide here. Stay tuned on our latest news. So much from me. Now probably it's time for us to invite Dan from Cybin Solutions. Cybin is actually the award-winning team from the workforce category in our Adventures GBA Fellowship Program. Dan, if you would like to share Cybin Solutions experience in the Asia market and maybe your experience with Adventures GBA Fellowship as well. Over to you, Dan.
Thank you. So first, I'd like to thank Invest Hong Kong, Esperanza, and the economic and commercial mission of the Israeli Embassy in Hong Kong. I know that I don't have much time, but I'll try and make it as precise as possible. Quickly about Cybint, we are an education technology company. We are focused on adult learning and mainly in workforce training. We were founded in 2014 as a services company, and we became a product company in 2019 after we secured our first round of funding with an EdTech fund in Singapore. A little bit about the problem that we're facing with Cybint. There are actually 2 problems. One is the talent shortage, where there's a big gap of cyber professionals, specifically in Asia, if you can see in the map. And the second is skills gap, where people who already work in general positions and also in tech roles are not skilled enough to do their jobs. And according to all the evidence that we have, they show that Asia is the one that is missing the digital skills and is more in demand of those kind of skills worldwide. What we do at Cybint is that we offer non-degree, degree programs, and corporate training programs that we are doing directly and through channel partners as well. In the Asian context, we only focus on non-degree boot camps and corporate training and not in the universities and the four degrees, but we may do so in the future. Briefly about our boot camps offering, and specifically about the Asian context, our bootcamp is a 480 hours blended program that Cybint provides to our partners with a local facilitator. We train the local trainer. While the content is all in English, the facilitator can speak the local language in different countries that we operate in, and he acts as as a facilitator between the content and the class. And because cybersecurity is in English, we do not localize it and we do not intend to translate our content. Some use cases in Asia, we partnered in India with the Indian Institute of Technology in Jodhpur, and we plan to partner with more of those. In Japan, we partnered with Agarut, it's a training company, and also with LAC, which is the biggest MSSP in Japan, both to train people in cybersecurity to enter the industry and also to fund and sponsor those programs through companies. This is a very interesting partnership, specifically in Hong Kong through Esperanza and their program. We had the pleasure of meeting Accelerate, one of the leading bootcamp providers in Hong Kong. They do not deliver cybersecurity. They do start offering it right now through us. And we are planning to have an upcoming collaboration with both government and industry for placement and funding and sponsorship opportunities in Hong Kong. And when we focus on corporate training in cybersecurity, we have our workshops, which we also deliver mainly by local partners. They range from 1 to 5 days blended learning programs. And same here, we train the local trainer to deliver it by themselves in the local language. This allows localization very easily. This is a fully in-class program. And specifically in Singapore, where is a very interesting location for us, we partnered with NTUC Learning Hub, one of the leading vocational training companies in the country. We partnered with several government regulators and agencies. And over there, there's very aggressive government funding, up to 100% funding for courses and training. And this actually boomed through COVID. We trained more than 6,000 corporate trainees from the leading companies in Singapore. And this is a very interesting market for us. But we know that this can be duplicated for other countries in the context as well. A little bit about why we chose Asia, why we chose going there. So actually, we recognize that there's a very significant talent shortage and lack of digital skills, and we see that as an opportunity. And this also applies on the competition landscape, where we don't see much direct competition in Asia in general, in cybersecurity training, but we see it in other areas of training as well. Most companies focus in training and education technology on the US, in Europe, and there is a big opportunity in Asia, as I can tell from my experience. Again, everything I'm saying here is from my and our experience specifically. The next thing that we all know about Asia is the scalability. When we talk about India, Japan, Indonesia, Hong Kong as a pilot location, maybe, but it can be the whole operation, but a pilot location for China. And the next thing that I can tell, that Israel's reputation enables us in some situation to do business a little bit easier because of the reputation in startups, tech, and specifically in cybersecurity. And another thing that we found out that is not only in Singapore, but in other locations as well, including Hong Kong, is the funding and sponsorship of both government, but also companies. Governments and corporates do fund reskilling programs, while companies invest in upskilling their employees. This is not something that we see a lot in the Western workspace, but we see it a lot in Asia. And this is probably a cultural thing that we need to understand, that companies invest in their employees. And from my experience, partners and customers move very fast when interested, and the barriers are removed very easily. and our experience with that is very, very positive. Some of our challenges, cultural, like you either need a local agent or a dedicated person in your team that knows Asia, knows the culture, in some cases know the language. It's very important to act and know how to work with those cultures. I can say that I learned working with this with Asia during time. It took me time to understand the bureaucracy that can be tough, specifically with government, and also product localization. For us, we understood that we don't need to localize in some markets, but if your product is a SaaS, then in most cases it should be translated, but also localized. And localized is not just translating, it's really understanding, specifically in education, where the gap between the Israeli methods and the Asian methods is very far away. We need to localize and have someone to understand the context. Please feel free to approach. I can tell you a little bit more about my experience and Cyber's experience in the region. And I'll send my contact details in the chat.
Thank you so much, Dan. And thank you also to other panelists. Thanks for your very valuable sharing. Now is Q&A time. And maybe we can also invite Yoav to join us in this Q&A session. Feel free to write in your questions in the chat box. And as a moderator, maybe I have the monopoly to fire the first question. Panelists, Dan talk a lot about localization, finding a good local partner. Do you have any advice or recommendations how to approach this for, say, for the Israeli startup in this room? Anyone want to start first? Maybe Alexandro, any experience that you can share or suggestion?
I mean, really great question. Of course, it largely depends on the type of business you're running, right? But I would say, without wanting to sound obvious, like if you rely on a partner like Esperanza or the Adventures program and any similar player, that is of course a major strategy. The second one, do look for potential, and again, it really depends on what you do, but look for potential channels or distributors, and don't be afraid to give up, you know, some revenue shares or anything, because it's an important thing to get more channels. And of course, the other thing is that while a structured reach out approach, you know, structured sales process, automations and everything is all important, don't forget that you need to, and again, it sounds obvious, but then you really realize it when you do it, and I'm sure many of you have experiences. Remember that, you know, especially sales expanding to a new country, it's also a people business. So it's true that now, in a sense, thanks to COVID, you can get on a call with anyone, but make sure to get to know your people and find the champions if you're a B2B player in one institution or in another. Once you find that champion, it's much easier then to scale. Don't scale from day one. It's not really happening.
Thank you. I saw there's a question. Aaron, who are you directing the question to? Are you using conversational AI solutions? You're happy to explore collaboration. To whoever is relevant. Anyone interested in picking this up? Actually, I was about to ask Kenneth. I know that institutions like Preface, and there are many more in Hong Kong, always on the lookout for good solutions from around the world and be their partner, distributors in this part of the world. Kenneth, can you share what is your criteria in selection? You know.
Yeah, Rachel, I think that's a great question. As a learning platform and as a company that runs student and teacher community, of course, we would love to look for suitable products, tools that can enhance the experience of both sides. So any sort of business partners out there that has similar STEM related material that we can help deploy in Hong Kong could be a good starting point for a discussion, as we love to work with outside partners. In fact, there are already a couple of companies from the US that has been working with us in terms on a project basis to test out these products. So as Alexandro mentioned, we can definitely leverage our sort of pool of students and teachers and see what's possible to be implemented on the ground. The second thing is, of course, to utilize the resources that we have and see whether any collaboration is possible. So as I said, our online platform, we also have offline sites. We have 6 campuses in Hong Kong, 2 coffee shops, soon to open the 3rd one in the center of Causeway Bay. So not only do we position ourselves as a coding school, we also want to build this community hub that welcomes students from all walks of life. A lot of people would ask us, hey, you're a school, why do you open coffee shops? But the new way of learning can definitely happen in the coffee shop. And we just want to pull that gap or stigma of people sitting in a classroom to jumping out of that, right? Learning can happen, of course, during the pandemic at home. You can learn things while you're enjoying your sip of coffee, wine. You can organize a workshop, the company, utilizing our space. So these are also possible scenarios that we would love to explore with outsiders, and I would be more than happy to jam with any interested parties of company after this meeting.
Precisely, that's a dimension of social learning. Victor, Yoav or Dan, you have anything to add? Maybe any cases that you want to share? We have another 2 minutes.
Let me first respond to Aaron's question about the AI conversational solutions. I don't have an immediate need, but this is a very general topic. So if there is anything that can help student learning, certainly it would have some potential. But I would like to digress a little bit to the marking for speaking assessment. Because of the COVID-19, a lot of oral examinations are stopped, and even without the COVID, the marking for conversation is very tedious for teachers. So right now, probably this is a genuine need in the school setup for some automated conversational assessment tools. So this is one response. The other thing about finding partners, again, it is easiest, to me, it's easiest to join the Learning Teaching Expo in December. In the 3 days, most of the education solution providers in Hong Kong will be there. It's a trade show for this region, and it definitely is a good entry point. Plus, there are a few companies who are knowing this market for quite a long time, and you need to talk to them because the school culture is not a consumer market. It's you need really to understand some of the schools, and so you need this kind of partners.
Thank you, Victor. Yoav and Herman, your final words before we wrap up this session. I'm sure Invest Hong Kong office colleague will continue to provide support. I hope today is just the beginning of our potential partnership journey.
Absolutely, Rachel. Thank you for moderating the panel, and thank you every one of the panelists of participating. I can see that, I mean, this is a successful webinar today because I can see a lot of questions coming from the audience and a lot of chats with each other. So I would like to say that to all the friends in Israel, you can contact our colleagues in Jerusalem. And let me show you the contact. I understand that some of you are already chatting with my colleague, Sherwin Pomeres, in the chat room. And we also have another colleague, Dan Levy. So here are their contact details. Please do not hesitate to contact any one of them. And should you want to have more information about coming to Hong Kong and how Hong Kong government can help, please let them know, and we will do our best to support you. As I said it at the beginning, Invest Hong Kong is a department of the Hong Kong government responsible for promoting Hong Kong and helping overseas companies to come to Hong Kong. Today's webinars will be recorded and it will be uploaded soon on Invest Hong Kong website. So please reach us for more information. And finally, if you are interested in learning more about the Adventures GBA Fellowship introduced by Rachel today, please leave your name, company name, and email address in the chat room. And I'm sure that Rachel will get back to you. So have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Also, Rachel, from my side, just like a few words. Just to say that the economic mission of the Consul General of Israel is here to help you, the Israeli companies. We had like about more than 20 Israeli companies participating today. So I think it's for them, it's a great way to approach us, approach Invest Hong Kong, approach Esperanza, and looking for opportunities, because that's our job, and we're always here for you to help you and like discover the area and Hong Kong specifically. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.